Hello, dear students. Welcome to the Bajirao IAS Academy. Today is 30th December, and we are going to cover the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. So, in today's session, we are going to cover three important editorial. The first issue is related to the recent suspension of the death sentence by the Qatar Higher Court, and that is huge diplomatic success for India. So, we will be discussing this issue in great detail. Then further, we will be shifting toward the second article where we will be discussing about the tussle between the center and the Tamil Nadu government regarding the disbursement of the disaster related fund, because we know that Tamil Nadu is facing the flood crisis, whether it is related to heavy rainfall or the cyclone Muchang. Then further, we will move to the last article where we will be focusing on the disability issue in India, specifically related to neurodisability, and what are the various type and what challenges the people face, and also how we can ensure that these challenges should be resolved so as to provide the right to dignified life to these people, and also to ensure the disability inclusion principle in India. Okay, so the session will be enjoying, but if you are new to our channel, kindly share, subscribe, and like our channel. So let's start with our discussion. The first article can be related to GS paper 2. So when we talk about the recent incident, I have to go little month back, like on August month 2023. There was the death sentence awarded to the former 8 Navy officials. And what was the charge? The charge of espionage. Espionage means jasusi. So the charge was like these personnel were giving or transferring sensitive information to Israel regarding the submarine manufacturing programs of Qatar. So that was the charge, and the award was awarded as death sentence. So after that, India took greater role in ensuring that whatever the charges is, we have to fight against the charges, and that's why after some months we appealed to the higher court in Qatar, that is the Qatar Court of Appeal, and now there is reduction of death sentence. So we can say that it is huge diplomatic success for India and also for the families and for whole of Indians as well. But there is steps for what to be needed. What are the steps? Because we wanted complete overhaul of the charges, because as per the government there is a charges which is like not based on evidence. So just we are trying our legal mechanism so that the charges should be reduced and these people should be brought back to India. So what are the legal and diplomatic steps ahead? So either we can file a review petition in the highest court of Qatar, and then we can have Emir's review, and Emir's, the head of the state of Qatar. Okay, then we have the clemency, and lastly, let's say if there is a sentence awarded, so we will ensure that these people should like spend their jail term in Indian prison, not in the foreigners prison. So that is the process that is pending, and we will discuss one by one. First scenario will be like appeal to the court of secession, and basically this is highest court in Qatar judicial system, and here the Indian authority and the missions will be challenging the conviction based on the legal arguments, and here we have to showcase the evidence in much more a strengthful manner to counter their charges. Okay, and for that it requires careful assessment of evidence and judgment details. Then we can have other options like diplomatic and political option, where we can have engagement with Qatari leadership like the Emir, who is the head of the state, and have huge pardoning power. Okay, so we can have contact here. And do you know that in the recent COP28 summit, which held in Dubai, but PM Modi also met with the Qatar Emir, and it was a positive step. And maybe our Prime Minister may have discussed this issue to the Emir. So that is also the diplomatic step that was going behind, but it was not highlighted much in media. That is also a good point. And then we can have an option of clemency and prisoner transfer. In clemency, we can seek pardon from the Emir. Okay, and there are various examples that have taken pardon and they have got the reward as well. Then lastly, let's say the charges are framed and charges are awarded. So in that sense, we have a 2015 bilateral agreement on transfer of sentence prison with the Qatar. So what will happen under this agreement? Let's say like sentence was awarded. So these people will be brought back to India, and in India these people will be like in the prison. So that can be the scenario. So these are the steps forward, and in conclusion we can say that this is huge success for India, that we have like reduced the death sentence, and this also showcases the India's diplomatic achievement. And one thing you may have noted, like there was allegations in Canada as well. Okay, but the Canada was much highlighted in news, but in this scenario the sensitiveness of this matter was kept. That's why it was not much highlighted, but everything was going behind the scene, and that's why the success came. And otherwise, if this was too much highlighted in the media, so it may have become counterproductive. Okay, so it is hoped that a consistently calibrated position means balanced position, apart from careful of Qatar sensitivity and the quietness, we call it quiet diplomacy. Okay, so that will help to bring back our 8 Indians in the home safely. So that will be the conclusion of this article. Now we are shifting to the second article. It can be related to GS paper 3. So basically when we talk about Tamil Nadu, so Tamil Nadu, you know that it's a coastal state. Okay, it's a coastal state. Here it is Tamil Nadu located, and the Chennai city is also a coastal city. And whenever there is huge rainfall or the cyclonic incident, so these city gets flooded, and there is like the destruction of various infrastructure, and the economic business gets slowed down. So that is the thing. And apart from that, the people and their homes and their various life challenges do a starts. Okay, so that is the thing. And one thing we have to understand here, that whenever these disaster comes, so the center do have the responsibility for the post rehabilitation and post disaster scenario, like whatever the infrastructure loss or the damages occurred, so it needs to be restored, and for that money is required. Okay, so we have the National Disaster Management Fund, we have the State Disaster Management Fund under the National Disaster Management Act 2005, and from that fund money is given, money is utilized for rehabilitation, for restoration. Okay, but what we are seeing, that the center which have the responsibility for the transfer of the funds, but there is a delay in the transference because of the certain procedure and the complexity associated with it. Okay, that's why there is a tussle or the face off over the flood issue between center versus Tamil Nadu over aid and preparedness. That is the point. Hope you understood. And when we talk about like the Tamil Nadu state has sought about 21,692 crore in total from the union government, but center is releasing the fund in slow manner. Like there's also sanctioned about 500 crore for the flood mitigation project in Chennai, but we have to understand how the fund devolution procedure works. So first of all, there will be a team. There will be like observational team that will analyze the disaster and their impact. Okay, and if the disaster and the impact are very much severe in nature, okay, so then there will be the allocation of extra fund or the release of additional funds. Recommendation will be there from the NDRF. Okay, but before that there will be the conduct of various survey of the location, the impacts, the scenario, many more things, and this requires time. That's why the actual devolution becomes very delayed, and this like makes the state in post disaster rehabilitation, post disaster restoration little bit complex and delayed. So that is one thing. Okay, hope you understood. And that's why we have a suggestion here, like the central government should ensure clear guidelines when it comes to the relief so that procedural delay should not occur. And apart from that, we should consider including long-term or permanent restoration works in the ambit of SDRF or the NDRF. Otherwise, what happens? These permanent restoration works although have the bigger funding required, but as they are excluded, so the fund crisis occurs and complete restoration do not happens. So the state maybe, if in future such disaster again comes, so they are not able to handle it properly. And there is another suggestion like flexi fund utilization. For that you have to understand that we have the SDRF, a state disaster response fund, and here in this fund 75% money is given or contributed by the central government, and 25% remaining is contributed by the state government. But here you need to understand that a state can only utilize the fund, about 90% of the fund will be utilized specifically to the notified disaster that has been notified under the state disaster management fund or the listed disaster. But there may be the local disaster that not included into that list. So what will happen? So for that only 10% fund will be utilized, okay, for the immediate relief to the people. But here there is a suggestion like we have to increase the use of flexi fund for post disaster recovery by 25% to carry out the post disaster permanent restoration work. So this will give much more upper hand or the relaxation of the fund utilization by the state for the local disasters, okay, or the disaster which are not classified under the list or the schedules. And apart from that, there is a suggestion of MSME, that is the micro, small and medium enterprises relief, because these industries are backbone for the Indian economy, for the Indian state, and in disaster these industry gets very much affected. So we need to ensure call for a specific relief measure for these industry. Okay, so that is another suggestion. Now we are coming to the basic about SDRF, that is a state disaster response fund. So whether it is SDRF or NDRF, these are constituted under Disaster Management Act 2005. And do you know about this act? This is aimed to ensure that if any disaster comes, whether it can be the post, whether it can be the pre, or whether it will be the disaster actually arrive. So this act provides the mechanism, the funding pattern, and the rehabilitation pattern, many more things. Okay, so SDRF has been constituted under section 48 clause 1 subclause A of this act, and it was recommended on the based of 13th Finance Commission, and this fund is primarily available with the state government, and the state government will utilize this fund for the notified disaster to meet the expenditure for providing immediate relief. So when we talk about contribution, that is the money. So the center contributes 75%. Here you need to understand the center contributes 75%, and for remaining it's contributed by the state government. But there is a condition, like we have the general category state and the special category state. Now you have to understand, when we talk about general category state, so the state which do not have any geographical difficulties or the barriers, okay, so they will be called a general category. But when we talk about a special category like Himalayan state, so Himalayan state, they are like, they have the geographical barrier, difficult terrain, okay, and many more challenges as compared to the plain or the Gangetic plain states. So that's why these are given more funds from the center, okay. So that is one thing. And when we talk about disasters covered under SDRF, so you can remember it, it can be the cyclone. That's why whenever there is a cyclone, so fund can be released, fund can be utilized under SDRF, okay, for the maintenance, for the rehabilitation, and many more purpose. And also drought, earthquake, fire, flood, tsunami, hailstorm, landslide, avalanche, cloudburst, pest attack, frost, and cold waves, okay. So that is the thing. But here when we talk about for the local disaster, that means the disaster which is not included in this list, okay. So for that, a state government may use up to 10% of the funds available under the SDRF for providing immediate relief to the victims of the natural disaster, okay. That's why there was recommendation like increase this share to 25%, okay. We have like discussed in the previous slide. So that is the end of the article. Hope you enjoyed. And basically disaster is very much problematic in India, almost, whether it is like cold wave, whether it is like heat wave, whether it is like floods, whether it is drought, almost many type of disaster do occurs in India in different parts of the state, and this impacts the economy, the polity, the society, and the dignity of the life, the people, the poorer people, the marginalized section, many more peoples, okay. So that's why for India it's like complexity of the disaster operating, and we have the management responsibility for that as well. So that's why there should not be the tussle, there should be the cooperation. The focus should be like protecting the people, protecting the rights of the people, protecting the marginalized people, so that these people should not fear from these type of hindrances. So that is the article. Now we are shifting to another and very interesting article, and it is related to health, but specifically the neuro disorders, okay. And you can cover it under GS paper 2. So when we talk about the disability, what do you mean by disability? So basically the incapability of doing the normal work, we call it as a disability. It can be the mental disability, it can be the physical disability, it can be the psychological disability, okay. So here our focus is on psychological disability, that is the mental disability basically, okay. And mental disability we can also refer as neuropsychiatric disorder, and it is a umbrella term. And here there is a range of medical conditions that comes under it, and it involves both neurology and neurology, you know, it is the study of neurology, and neurology deals with brain and psychiatry as well. And we have multiple disorders like the attention deficit disorder, cognitive deficit order. Cognitive deficit means lack of proper thinking power. And what do you mean by attention deficit? Like the people or the person are not able to focus correctly. So there is attention deficit. And when we talk about global burden of neuropsychiatric disorder, so there is huge burden. And we have to analyze, on the one side we are like moving towards economic progress, technological growth and advancement, and on the other side we are seeing that these disease or the burdens is increasing. So why this is happening, or there is a linkages between our way of progress and the way of life? We need to decode that. Okay, and we have various data like 317 million children with autism yani developmental disability. Okay, and apart from that, ADHD, that is attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder. What do you mean by hyperactivity disorder? Here the person feels so much energy that they are hyperactive to do work, and this hyperactivity disorder leads to like sudden decision making, and this also affects the mental stability of the people. And apart from that, intellectual disability, that is the thinking related or the cognitive related disability. And then we have 167 million adolescents with anxiety, depression, OCDs, 970 million adults with mental health condition, 276 million neurologically affected individuals in older age. And in older age, we face the issue of schizophrenia. Okay, that means forgetting the things, and this is also a serious problem in the old age population, that is forgetting the things. And hence we need some transformative solution for disability reduction, because this will help in empowering these people. Okay, and we have to prioritize innovation that enhance activities of daily life and the quality of life and the dignified life to these people. And for that, the rehabilitation services needs to be revamped. And now, what do you mean by rehabilitation services? Basically, rehabilitation means restoration of the mental or the physical ability. Let's say a people facing the walking crisis. Okay, so maybe with the help of the medicines and the proper guidance, these people can walk again with better ability. So that is the thing, and it can be related to the mental or the physical. Okay, and there is huge burden of it as well, and we need to work collaboratively like 2.41 billion people with conditions benefiting from the rehabilitation. That means it should be adopted. Okay, specifically related to this type of neuro disorder. And however, there are challenges related to like rehabilitation is undershot, like late lack of doctors or medications. Okay, and disability often seen as a permanent. So one thing is that, so there is a need for change for holistic, multidisciplinary, multi-component rehabilitation, building awareness, empowerment rehabilitation of the professionals is also needed. So there are multi-pronged approach which is required, and there can be the scientific advances we can work through, because these scientific advances helps in dealing with these type of crisis. And please do remember for the prelims, specifically the term like repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, functional magnetic stimulation, transcranial electrical stimulation, transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation. So maybe UPSC can ask RTMS, FMS, TES, or TAVNS is related to what? So these related to the treatment or the scientific treatment for the neurodisability. Okay, so that is the thing you should remember, and we need collaboration in this field. Okay, because when we talk about data, so globally about 1 billion people are facing the disability worldwide. And what is the biggest challenge? Like 80% means 80 crore people, okay, are in developing countries which are facing this crisis. So there is a need to have a disability inclusion in the 2030 agenda for the sustainable development as well. And for that we need collaboration of the governments, not only at the national level but international level. Apart from that, public and private sector participation are needed, the scientific experts are needed, the doctors all needs to be included, and proper policy and planning needs to be developed, and it should be aimed for the people's welfare, the welfare of the disabled person, so that their dignified lives should be protected. So when we talk about in conclusion, so neuropsychiatry holds immense potential so that we can improve the quality of life of millions, not only millions, but billions of the people. And for that, we need to have a transformative solution and scientific advancements. Okay, and collaboration and inclusivity means like we are taking care not only for only the richer section, only the well advanced section, but also the poorer people, the marginalized people who are facing the challenges due to these crises. So we need to have a inclusivity. We need to have a proper treatment to them as well, because they also require the treatment. They also want to have a quality life, dignified life, and for that the inclusivity principle comes. Okay, so that is the thing, and these are key to leaving no one behind in the quest for a better future. So hope you understood this discussion. That is the end of the session, and we will meet again with the next year, that is the 1st of Jan, maybe that there will be a holiday. But tell me what's your resolution for the next year in the comment section, and how you are going to achieve it. Okay, and there is a last session, that is the question. Pause the video, solve the question, and comment in the chat box. So thank you friends, thank you very much for the session. Hope you enjoyed. Please do like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much.